No, I think it almost doesn't exist. Okay, good. Yep. Thank you, Dallas.
Test it. Good to see him.
Yeah, Dallas, 1, 2, 3. Oh, can't get over there. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dallas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sounds good. Thank you. Oh. Really more. I found the commercial, but the name was not in it. Because suddenly
I have one coming up tonight. Every year I go through the process trying to learn all the so I easel there is really nice to walk in studying the book. Oh, do you really? And Jared and I did this thing like he quit. We did a shot thing last week where he quit. He holds up a picture and he quizzes me. Yes. I saw that it was sent, but I have not looked at it.
I was thinking about that. Jeez.
You might have sensitive. He might not be a member of it. Who knows?
He always asks me to go out to dinner. So I texted him.
Weirder things have happened.
That's true. Around here.
We're in the world of weird.
it's not there.
Present company.
So you said it might air tonight?
That's the plan.
On SR?
No. Fox News tonight.
Okay. Well, that's my bet.
What time do you go to the gym? Midnight?
Yeah, Saturday.
It might air this week.
Wait, how
It
late
won't
do
air
the Caps,
Saturday.
it might be customized. How late do the Caps play tonight?
Well, if they get the game in. You know, they canceled in Buffalo last night.
Yeah. Well, they're in
Ottawa. It's not much better.
It's always cold in Ottawa.
I was there one time and it was 21 degrees below zero.
18, it's just Mark checking before we start.
The only time I've ever visited Ottawa was in the summertime. It was delightful.
No telling.
It's a great town. I like it.
Great in the summer.
It's a great town.
Everybody's finally wandered in. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Except Kelly.
Yeah. You know it's a big day.
I flagged it up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that was the longest. They have. Well, there's 2 minutes of the base on everything. Like the base.
Oh, yeah.
I think each amendment gets evenly. Yeah, I don't. It's like,
So you go old school better where you...
One speaker speaks.
whoever has the bid gets every amendment.
You know, instead of shooting people, you shoot.
Kind of get
Yeah. All this kind of shit.
The pleas that fall on deaf ears.
Go wide and let it go. Used to be old-timey producers, man, they wanted that.
Oh, yeah.
60 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Just one. Ernie.
Where'd you get that nice,
That's right. Over there.
oh, over there?
Yeah. Voluntarily. In a roll, one day across street from the hotel.
chatting with
I thought you were accusing me of
young
killing
lady
me.
that was sort of picking the it's a fun thing. You see them like there, you don't see them stressed. I just learned to say good morning. So I ain't gonna bother trying to talk.
Right.
She spoke English, and her dad was in the shops. They were chatting. Go back 20 years. It's on there. It's just. I remember I didn't have a year. I would go out there.
Good, they do.
They did have some.
I got a good sweatshirt from the one Zelenskyy wore last night.
There were some
The shield.
Yeah.
So with the Christmas party the other night, it was raining back there with
Her daughter, 2 years. He rented a house for $8.
And that was, I want to say that was
I mean,
around
much as I
no, the very first one was assessment.
Right.
Yeah, and he had been a senator, put his house was in each, not been a senator, Senate Sergeant Arms and Senate Sergeant. But they found that he was then the Speaker of the Tennessee House. You know, word didn't travel fast. Or 18 or whatever, it was somewhere.
They got a large Ukrainian community down in
What I'm excited about outside says everyone get out of here. Serious stuff.
Well, we've done that several times. We did that 2 years ago. Once Trump vetoed the defense bill because otherwise it was going to be fun.
Like a cheap suit.
I know.
After we could have done this yesterday.
We left the wives back.
In Ohio,
It was on a hard side by side.
Yeah, Sarasota's bad.
I'll have to agree.
Millions of dollars. Basically, both of them are gonna fail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Shelby, he said, well, these are good fast. Someone said, you can take a look. He goes, yeah, I'll take a look at it, and then I'll say, I'm not gonna vote for it.
They run the airport.
But they don't run the airport.
I mean, running it like.
They run all of the
I can't
concessions.
remember. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I have not, but I know people that have. That you like run miles every morning at like 5 to 10.
No, so we
All in America.
yeah, no, it's a little section. So I'm excited.
I was with,
I will tell you,
with the cycle.
one time we were doing a bank.
And he was supposed to be in the event, dropped out.
And it was right in Denver.
Got the garbage out.
30-0. And we couldn't make it.
Right?
Ran it out. Even if we had 2 sets of gear.
I'm not about to go.
13.
And that road that goes by Mall of America. Yeah. On the other side, what is Prince Street. And, we were staying at the house. All the kids from and the tires froze on the cab and fell. Our cab. Yeah, the tires froze. Oh, I had never seen that. And I believe it, you know. It was very funny. I said, because I want us to go through these issues.
She always thought of this.
Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneak and find out.
Back when we worked together, about 20 years ago.
I never asked.
And we're also like, then let us just ask for questions about next. None of you have questions. I'm
So,
What?
it was just 73.
It was a good question. I wanna know what she's gonna connect first.
Is that like Italian?
Yes. No, it's not gonna happen. No. She's already.
The consensus big to bring the state together.
I'm joking.
Yeah, she's very true.
She was.
But it would be the fitting final tie between Pelosi and Newsom families. And I've heard it coming if I got it.
That's not gonna happen.
What that transition
I just wanna know when she's gonna.
from like.
I'm not gonna ask her.
You got a second. No, just.
No.
The logistics.
No, I just.
It's you.
So this guy ran the thing. I was not gonna ask anything.
Plus.
General takeoff. No, I just gonna observe, so we can snow in, we couldn't do the job.
But it's funny.
Yeah, he says, you wanna come with me? Definitely can. Watched him take off, you know, we were in there. Snow drifts everywhere.
I got to the city. It's like.
Stop my idiocy.
Like 2.5 hours from where I needed to be. And I'm like, I drove the tour text here. I
just saying, you know,
Yeah, Auburn, New York. Auburn, New York. That's why.
So Lewis thinks we're basics, that's what I'm saying.
No,
yeah.
Bakes is in the city, yes.
You're right. That is in the
Outside
middle
my
of it.
purview.
Yeah, it is in the middle. And so, yeah, that was like, traffic was stuck.
Yeah, that was after 2018.
To everything as you do.
No, that was after 18. Yeah, it was
That was fine.
Yeah, she got floated.
Because I remember their life.
And she told me this great story about Pelosi brings her in.
Right.
And she's like, well, you guys are still, do you know what?
Democrats.
And she's like, oh, show her my calendar.
Where was that?
All these fundraisers.
Whatever they, when she sold out, so willing to say it. It was like the house that had like subcommittees. They created.
She started posting on Facebook. Don't come at that. I did it in Washington.
They could not have had one of these. It actually was a very, potentially a very important subcommittee. What she did. I know. 2 years later, she went to a cabinet.
Yeah. In the Sony,
The VCT play, or whatever it's called.
they do make a strip down version.
Yeah.
Not expensive. You know, it's just they cut all the edge, all that crap you don't need. Cut all edge.
Also Sony or different?
I think it's an aftermarket, yeah.
They just sent out the report.
Oh, really?
No.
So the centerpiece is just that back pipe, and they cut.
Oh, yes.
No, the report. It's strange how they've not changed, you know, everything licensed it out, or, you know, it got past the age.
I mean, at least it's some kind of standard.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
It works.
Oh, it
And so
works.
people,
Yeah, no, it works very good. But everything else gets trimmed down and made lighter. I think you still.
it does get beat up.
Yes, it does.
Like I'll see a name like Phil Waldron.
You'll give us a thank you.
I was gonna ask if that's what
Like, oh, we're not gonna cover it.
So the fight now, the cameras are going to 8K, is, what do you use as a euphemism? You know? 4K is bad enough, now the 8K. So things are sharp. The autofocus really, you know, is good and that hurts. You know? Especially if you got big Geo lenses, you know, if you're doing outdoor stuff, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. These are wildlife guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be interesting. You get to a point where the machine can't, we can't do it.
No.
The machine needs to be able to do it.
That's what they're talking about, yeah.
But 8K, nothing even gets distributed in 4K.
Well, you know, the wildlife people are always looking for, will this be okay in 20 years, you know?
That's a different.
I got the eagle landing and I got 20K.
Twice.
You're
Subset.
interesting, so.
Yeah. They know they're a little different.
Definitely a different life.
So it's fun.
be the area SR.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Do any of that stuff. If you're in the Arctic, you degrease it.
Freezes up.
The storm's already starting.
Yeah.
So Biden saying leave now is actually kind of like a
Yeah, we know when it's spicy. She's in? She's in.
Well, he's gonna read.
Yeah, for sure. Here we come.
It's a prep plan, he'll figure it out.
None of that, please.
Please, everyone mute your cell phones.
I don't think from that angle, I
Wow.
don't see this.
Quite a bit of glare on that, isn't it? In a perfect world, it might be angled a little bit.
When was Churchill? You're not number. Dingle was there for the FDR.
I thought it was mayor of Baltimore. Sonny D. He's the reason the Baltimore Orioles exist. St. Louis Browns. Time to mention to the assistant that there was a lot of glare on that picture. Could they make it more shiny? Probably hold it up.
You know, when Churchill went to the White House in December 1941, the alarm goes about because he would walk around naked all the time. Churchill.
She said last night, she has to go up.
My last math class was
Churchill once said he never wooed a woman as much as he wooed.
Let's see on the third.
You lived in the White House, right? Or when was that?
Yeah, he was supposed to only be there for 2 days. He ended up spending like 2 months. Yeah. He annoyed everybody. He wouldn't let
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry for the delay. We are just finalizing what you all are here to find out is how we are proceeding and when we will finish. I'll get to that in a moment, but first I want to talk about last night. Last night was so historic for us to hear President Zelenskyy. It's been a momentous week for our democracy. Yesterday was my high honor to welcome President Zelenskyy of Ukraine here in the United States Capitol. He delivered a magnificent, awe-inspiring speech, I think all would agree, and the courage, heroism, and determination of the Ukrainian people shone through. It was moving to hear his report on the front lines of war from which he had just come from the front lines, sharing with us the valor by citizen and soldier alike. He always said the people were on the forefront of this, and the soldiers came to reinforce it, and declaring that at all odds, Ukraine still stood. I brought this picture because it's one that I show on Winston Churchill's birthday. We have his birthday party every year. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had it in the Rayburn Room. Perhaps some of you were there. And I always show them the picture of Winston Churchill speaking to the Congress of the United States the day after Christmas, 1941, following Pearl Harbor. And my father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., Baltimore, was there. And this arrow points to where he was sitting there. And so it always was a source of pride to me that my father was there that day. And now a source of pride that I could be there to hear another heroic leader of a country at war, come ask for help. When Winston Churchill came, what he said, now think of this and think of last night, he said, "We are doing the noblest task in the world, not only defending our hearths and homes, but the cause of freedom in every land." So much the theme, so much the common purpose of President Zelenskyy. But I'm so proud of this. And when I wrote to the members about coming, I said, I take great pride in my fact that my father was there for that. I hope that your children will take pride in the fact that you will be present for President Zelenskyy. So I was very proud of the turnout that we had, even though it was a last-minute notice, because we could not notice unless we knew for sure the president was coming, depending on what was happening in Ukraine, depending on weather and the rest. Again, democracy on the line. What an honor it was to have the flag that was presented to President Zelenskyy by the troops, and they asked him to bring it to us to say thank you. We don't have it here, but we're having it framed so you'll see it in the halls of Congress for a long time to come, but thanking the Congress of the United States and the American people for their support, signed by the soldiers. Of course, they thanked the President of the United States, and we're very proud of his leadership in all of this. We gave him a flag, and he said, "I'm bringing you a flag." I said, "Well, I'm bringing you a flag." And so we gave him the flag and the latest manifestation of the unshakable relationship between our two countries. This week was also marked by a focus on democracy here at home. Today, the world will see the final report of the Bipartisan Select Committee to investigate January 6th, after 18 months of tirelessly defending democracy. We salute Chairman Thompson, I just did in the caucus, and Vice Chair Liz Cheney, and all the members of the committee for their persistent patriotic leadership. The 117th Congress began with a violent assault on our democracy, and now we hear its conclusions. We have a vital roadmap ensuring justice will be done, and that this won't happen again. In keeping with our special focus of the week, the excellent work. This is an enormous undertaking, the omnibus package. Take strong steps to defend democracy. Included in legislation another round of security, economic and humanitarian aid for Ukraine. As President Zelenskyy said last night, this money is not charity. It is an investment in global security and democracy. Indeed, it is a worthwhile investment, and our bipartisan bicameral support must continue because the battle for Ukraine is a battle for democracy itself. Also in the omnibus, and this is pretty exciting for all of us, we're addressing some of the vulnerabilities in the January 6th attack by reforming the Electoral Count Act. We will thwart future attempts to undermine the peaceful transfer of power. And thanks to Democrats, numerous negotiating, the negotiating on this, the bill is the appropriations bill, and that is what keeps government open and meets the needs of the American people in the Appropriations Committee. Probably bigger than that are the provisions in the bill. We call it ash and trash, and that does remarkable things, and we had tremendous success with that. In fact, the highest, in terms of appropriations, the highest domestic, non-defense domestic number ever. We always want more, but nonetheless. And again, thanks to the tenacious negotiating, Rosa DeLauro was a maestro. It is a maestro. I mean, she's a tough negotiator, but a maestro with a baton and a stick. We've secured significant increase, heavily invested in families and workers, honor the commitment to our veterans, and strengthen democracy at home and abroad. Most people don't know that veterans fall under the domestic agenda. It is a consequence of war, it is a part of our security, but it is not included in the defense budget. So when we're fighting for a bigger defense number, it is also to accommodate meeting the needs of our veterans. And we want to honor them every chance we get. And this year, the PACT Act was something historic and needs to be funded. That will take some more time, but we do have funding in this bill for it, too. There's a hope the Senate will swiftly pass this package. Again, my delay related to how we see what will happen there on certain amendments, when we would get the bill, how much time it takes once it's passed to come over here. I know you're interested in schedule, so that's why I'm being more specific in the details there. Our hope would be that if it was finished this afternoon, it takes us about 5 hours to get the bill. We go to rules, we could pass it tonight. That would be our hope. But we're, shall we say, waiting to see how long the debate goes there. We want people to be able to go home, and as you know, there's storms across America, and hopefully that will be a motivation for expedited discussion there, or just submitting for the record, or saving it for another day, or whatever. As you know, this I thought last week might have been, but this is my final weekly press conference, and some of you have been covering Congress for a long time, others are new. All of you are guardians of democracy. You've heard me say again and again, if there were one freedom in the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, that would be the one that protects and defends all the other freedoms. Our founders knew that freedom of the press is foundational to government of, by, and for the people, informing the public about the work done in their name, in this case here. But, you know, as I admire your public service, I always enjoy our conversation. Turn to San Francisco sports.
Who would do that?
49ers, you worn yellow, Warriors, orange, Giants. I wish you and all of your loved ones a happy holiday. And here are the last questions. Jake, what do you got?
So just on the best timing, a little bit digging a little deeper. So from the time the Senate passes it, it'll take 5 hours.
Well, it takes a number of hours. It is.
To get to the House. So that'll be...
Until we have the bill, we cannot signal a Rules Committee.
Right.
The Rules Committee needs an hour's notice, and then we hope that it would not be a long Rules meeting. Hopefully we could get expedited procedure in that hour of notice, and that we could just move this even more quickly. When you do the bill, just so you know this, because I'm an appropriator and I take great pride in the work of appropriators, after you have the bill, so we have a bill, okay, now they may amend it and we'll see what happens, but when you have the bill, you sit side by side and read everything in it so that it is what is being written in the parchment is exactly what is the bill. That takes a long time for thousands of pages. Then, when that was finished, and we get the signal from the Senate that they want us to send the bill, you go to the Senate floor, and it's a beautiful thing. You go over to the Senate, and you take section by section by section by section, House and Senate. Not as long as reading every word, but confirming the sections. What is that called? It has a name, but it is part of the process. So all that is done now, it's just a question of the amendments. You know what many of them are. Probably 15, maybe 4 to 6 have a chance to be passed. Other compromises made. And it's just a question of how long people decide to talk on the floor. We would hope that with this smaller amount of amendments, it would come over sooner, be closest to what we sent over. So again, in terms of your planes, I think it's tomorrow, but it could be tomorrow morning, is what we hope. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, thank you for your comments. I just want to ask you in this time of transition, have you had any conversations with Leader McCarthy, or do you intend to? And if he prevails as Speaker, what advice would you give him?
Well, I don't think anybody needs any advice from anybody. You've heard me say, even about our own distinguished leadership, I'm not going to be the mother-in-law comes in and say, this is the way my son likes his turkey stuffing, his scrambled eggs, or anything else. They have to have their own vitality about it all, and they do. And so as far as he is concerned, yes, we haven't had any formal conversations, but we interact, and I'm just hoping that on January 3rd that they'll be expeditiously able to elect a speaker so that we can get on with the work of the Congress. And just so you know, this may interest you. What I have said to everybody is the hardest thing that I had to do, since you're asking this question, I was Speaker and Minority Leader under President Bush, under President Obama, under what's his name, and there's just Speaker under President Biden. But three different presidents, 2 different roles. The hardest thing that I had to do in all of the, let's just talk about the 3. The hardest thing that I had to do, and I said this in friendship and in love and all the rest of that, is when we had a Democratic president and we were in the minority, and we were in the minority as minority leader to sustain a presidential veto. Because the Republicans would roll out stuff that sounded like a chocolate sundae, but it's more like doggy do. But it looked good, and it played well in districts, and people say, oh, this is good. No, it ain't good. It's terrible. It undermines the Affordable Care Act. We have to sustain the presidential veto. This is not a casual vote. This is not a casual vote. So I'd rather be writing the Affordable Care Act or any other massive legislation than to have to go to my members and say, my friend, in friendship, I really need your vote to sustain the president's veto. That was the hardest. Yes,
Madam
ma'am.
Speaker, I wonder if you thought at all, as you are set to leave leadership, about what it's meant for your female colleagues here,
Yeah.
about women who might want to join Congress, seeing you as a person who has blazed a lot of trails here.
I appreciate that question as well. When I came to Congress, there were 23 women, 12 Democrats and 11 Republicans. Out of 435 people, there were 23, over 400 men and 23 women. Come on, get out of here. So some of us just made a decision. We have to change this. We have to recruit, we have to fund, we have to encourage women to run, give confidence to them that not only should they be here, they are needed to be here. And we now have 90 Democrats. They have 30, I think, something Republicans, and they've made some progress lately, and that's good. But we need more. And we need more people of color and the rest. And I take great pride that our caucus is about 70% women, people of color, LGBTQ, the beautiful diversity of America. In terms of women, though, they're always asking me, I get asked all of them, what advice do you have? I say the best advice I ever had that I extend to you is be yourself. You're the only person in the history of the world who is you. What you have is authentic, is special, is unique, and that diversity is necessary at the table. Also, I want women to have confidence, so sometimes when I act a little more, shall we say, like myself, it's because I want them to know it's okay to assert yourself, to have confidence in what you bring to the table, and also to understand your uniqueness. So I have overwhelmed by women telling me how I've given them confidence or what a role model and this. And I said, don't worry about any role model. Be yourself. What do you got? Seems appropriate that Chad would have one of the last questions. If you don't think it's appropriate, we don't have to have him have it. I'll leave it up to you in this democratic forum.
In any event, thank you. Considering the consternation on the Republican side of the aisle with picking the speaker, as somebody who has been speaker and has been through speakers' races before, does that bother you about what that says about the stability of the House of Representatives if they're having trouble picking a speaker?
No.
Politics, you might, and might you be the last speaker for a while until they pick a speaker?
No, I think they'll have a speaker. I think that my interest, and all of us, have to the integrity of the institution, the strength and respect that the institution commands and should command. And so that's why I said I hope that they would be able to resolve their differences on January 3rd and just come through with a vote to proceed.
It doesn't weaken the House if it takes a while? It doesn't weaken the House if it takes a few days? No,
we're a democratic institution. No, I wouldn't read too much into that. But I do think it's the sooner the better, because we have important work to do, whether we agree or disagree. We have important work to do.
Madam Speaker, going back to the Ukraine and democracy.
Yes, please.
Going back to the Ukraine and democracy theme, what message does that send to our biggest adversary on the other side of the globe? What happened yesterday, the events of yesterday, and what message on the flip side does it send to our allies like Taiwan when our appropriators have pulled billions of dollars that was in the NDAA for military defense out of the omnibus appropriations bill?
Pulled me out of the appropriations bill?
It was not included in the appropriations.
Well, the defense number is bigger than it's ever been.
But specifically for Taiwan, about $10 billion in grant money was pulled out of appropriations.
Well, it is, I'm not exactly familiar with that piece, but our commitment to Taiwan is a clear one in terms of our support for them to be able to defend themselves. But to your basic first part of your question, the important purpose, in my view, of last night, and that's why I'm glad the President spoke in English, was to deliver a message to the American people of appreciation, of gratitude, and of connection in terms of being about democracy, theirs and ours. So it was an important message for our country. The response that he received from the members of Congress was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. And that was an important message for his people, for our people to see, for Ukrainians to see, for Russians to see, and for our allies to see. It was the connection between our two countries, the commitment to democracy that we associate ourselves with in terms of the courage of the people of Ukraine.
What about China? China seeing.
Oh, you were talking about China. I thought you were talking about Russia. Yeah, China can see that as well. That's a whole other subject. that's another press conference for whoever wants to take that up. But as China, you know, I've been on the China case since Tiananmen Square. Even before that, I had met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and had concerns about treatment in Tibet and that. And then when Tiananmen Square came, we were more active in terms of the trade, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, human rights, and all that, and the rest of that. Interesting to see how China calibrates its activities with Russia in all of this. But I think it was an important message. And isn't it interesting that December to December, see, I invited him October 20. I went to Croatia for a meeting of something called the Crimea Platform Initiative, which was about 50 countries represented with speakers to talk about how we would work together for democracy in Ukraine and the military, support of the military effort. At that time, October 24th, in a meeting with the delegation from Ukraine, they asked for a joint session. They asked for some other things too, like patriots, so they got that on the trip too. But then of course, it was a question of time. And I have to say, Leader McConnell was so supportive right from the start. Right from the start, that was a real comfort level to come back and see in a bipartisan, bicameral way that we can do this, and that it would happen in Easter week, when the visit from Churchill was Easter week. Christmas week, the day after Christmas. This a few days before Christmas is inspiring. It's very inspiring. So again, it's a message that is inspirational as well as strong and informative as to our bipartisan, bicameral support for Ukraine, as well as admiring the leadership of our President Biden. One last greatness.
The D'Alessandro family was present for Churchill. You knew President Kennedy. The Pelosi family, through you, serving in the House through all of this history. You have been in the Democratic leadership now for 2 decades, Speaker of the House twice. This is a major transition moment. Yeah. Now move into a different role in the House your family has long been connected to. Could you offer us some thoughts about how you will approach your new role in the House in the new year, both on policy and on your role with the Democratic Party? How do you see 2023 for Congresswoman Pelosi?
Well, we could have a whole seminar on that, but we won't because we're waiting to hear from the Senate. Here's the thing. As Speaker of the House, I have awesome power. As now transitioning to a different role, I expect to have strong influence, but not on my members, just in terms of encouraging more women, for example, to run, to talk about civics and how we have to, used to be a requirement when I was little, 100 years ago, but now it's an elective and most people are not familiar. So I have to see what that path is. But the Speaker of the House is a very big job, and just wrapping it up will take time. With the Library of Congress for the papers, with the historian of the Capitol of the Congress in terms of interviews and the rest of that. And in just, I think that probably the most overwhelming thing I'll be doing forever is saying thank you. Thank you to my members. Thank you to the intellectual resources that have helped us with policy. Thank you for those who have helped us politically to attain our majorities and our strength in the Congress. I think my life will be about accountability to the record, the history, and thank you to those who made all of that possible. You've mentioned John F. Kennedy. I'll close with this. You've heard me say it many times. I'll say it now again because it identifies with what President Biden has been doing. When I was in school, I went to President Kennedy's inauguration. on the East Front, freezing cold. Freezing cold. The whole world, every child in America knows that in that speech he said to the citizens of America, ask not what our country can do for you, but what you can do for our country. You've said it. I see you all mouthing it. The very next sentence is what struck me. The very next sentence, to the citizens of the world, ask not what America can do for you, but what we can do working together for the freedom of mankind. That's what President Kennedy said. Not condescension, not doing something for, but working together. And I've said this to President Biden, and I said it at the St. Patrick's Day lunch, because that, Kennedy connection there. I said to President Biden, you have fulfilled in so many ways what President Kennedy was signaling, working together with all of the countries to come together to support Ukraine, not by dictating what we think is the way to go, but to listening, working together so that everybody felt committed to a plan for the freedom of mankind. And that's how I tie being there as my father's daughter at the inauguration to what happened this week and what our responsibilities are later. But my goal and my wish is that the members, that our new leadership in the House, based on the foundation that we have laid, or forming their own approach, will do even better than the significant legislative successes that I have had as Speaker of the House. Thank you all. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, enjoy your families. Yes, thank you.
The Giants lost out on Korea. You have to comment on the Giants losing out on Korea. They were equal to the Mets. The San Francisco Giants were supposed to get Korea, and he's now a Met. You must comment on this as the preeminent fan of the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, I was celebrating when he was coming to the Giants. Yeah. Well, we'll talk sports later, okay?
Sure.
Right now, we just want to see who's winning on these amendments so we can meet the needs of the American people and go home. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks again. Yeah.